A child of the immortals offers fire to the immortals. O blessed Hestia, mistress of fire and light, flesh of my soul, bring into my home your divine fire. Let this house partake of your wisdom, love, and power. O blessed Hestia, be welcome in my home. Alright, be sure to stick around to the end of this video for some updates and news on an upcoming project. Okay, in the last video we discussed how the soul has dual aspects, the irrational soul and the rational soul. We know that the irrational soul represents the primal instincts within all of mankind, which includes our base emotions and desires like anger, lust, and our bodily appetites. The instincts within our irrational soul are impulsive and cause one to act without reason or logical discourse. With that said, the irrational soul should not be discarded, as it is fundamental to mankind, as it is necessary to survival and the reproduction of our species. However, if the irrational soul is left unchecked and allowed to lead, it can cause chaos for both oneself and others around them. On the other side of the coin, we have the rational soul, which is the higher aspect of our human nature and our true self. As discussed in the previous video, the higher soul embodies the capacity for reason and logic. It is responsible for governing and moderating the impulses that arise within our irrational soul. It is through the rational soul that we are able to deliberately make educated decisions and exhibit self-control. It is also through the rational soul that we can develop virtues such as sophrosyne, prudence, and justice. This also allows us to lead a balanced life. Understanding this, we can see that the rational soul ensures that our actions are not driven by our base instincts alone, but in alignment with higher principles. Human behavior is heavily affected by the interactions between the rational soul and the irrational soul. These dual aspects between our rational soul and irrational soul show the complexity of our human existence, where instinctual drives are balanced by our rational oversight. As the irrational soul fuels our necessary and basic survival, as well as emotional responses, the rational soul gives us the means to control and tune our impulses, which can lead to a harmonious life. This shows us the importance and necessity in cultivating our rational faculties in order to achieve a state of inner balance. As mentioned in the Immortal Soul video, Socrates identified 3 parts of the soul in order to explain it. These were reason, spirited, and appetitive. Celestius divides the soul into reason, anger, and desire. These play an important role in the functioning of human behavior and can be linked to specific virtues that guide or influence our behavior. This tripartite view of the soul can offer a detailed overlay for understanding human behavior and assist in the pursuit of a virtuous life. Reason being the elevated aspect of the soul, it is intimately linked to the virtue of prudence. Prudence is practical wisdom and involves the capacity to discern that which is fitting and appropriate within different situations. It allows individuals the ability to make good judgment calls and the foresight to see consequences of their given actions. By doing this, they are capable of choosing the best route to achieve their desired outcome. Through reason, we are capable of maneuvering through complex moral decisions at the same time balancing our interest and acting ethically. It is prudence that acts as the guiding factor, directing the other parts of one's soul and ensuring that our emotional and desires stay aligned with rationality. Anger, or the spirited aspect of the soul, is associated with the virtue of fortitude. Fortitude represents the strength of mind and stick-to-it attitude. It allows one to overcome challenges, resist temptations, and endure hardships. This aspect of one's soul may also encompass the will to fight for justice and protect oneself as well as others from harm. Although if anger is left unchecked, it can lead to destructive behavior. But when it is governed by reason and tempered with fortitude, it is a powerful force. It is empowering to those individuals who are capable to stand strong in their beliefs and not give way to adversity. Desire is the appetitive aspect of the soul and corresponds to the virtue of temperance. Temperance is the ability to moderate and control one's appetites and passions. This ensures that desire for pleasure, material goods, and other physical gratifications are kept within reasonable bounds and do not take over one's life. It is by practicing temperance one can achieve a balanced lifestyle and avoid excess that leads to moral and physical decay. The virtue of temperance enables people to enjoy life's pleasures within a healthy and suitable way without leading to overindulgence and addiction. When reason, anger, and desire are harmonized and ruled over by reason, the soul achieves a state of internal balance and works in unity. This harmony leads to a just life, where each aspect of the soul performs its functions properly under the guidance of prudence. This unity gives rise to the virtue of justice. Now, justice in this context is the virtue that arises from the proper ordering of the soul. If you've watched some of my other videos, you've heard me say that evil arises from us when our souls are inverted. Justice makes sure that the rational part of the soul governs wisely, with the spirited acting courageously, and the appetitive aspect remaining temperate. Now, through the cultivation of prudence, fortitude, and temperance, we are able to attain a just and virtuous life. This life is characterized by an inner peace, moral integrity, and the ability to fulfill our highest potential in this lifetime. This tripartite division of the soul gives us insight into our own human nature and a path to living ethically. By gaining an understanding of these virtues and nurturing their growth, we can achieve a balanced existence. This philosophical foundation stresses the importance of our own self-awareness, moral education, and discipline on our part in the pursuit of a just life. The virtue of justice, as the virtue of our entire soul, is comprehensive. It harmonizes reason, anger, and desire. It surpasses the simple distribution of possessions and delves into the very essence of our conduct and behavior. This grand virtue only comes to be when every component of the soul is functioning in accordance to its own nature and guided by the correct virtue. Reason, as being associated with prudence, plays an important role in achieving justice. Prudence is the ability to make decisions wisely, the ability to foresee the consequences of those decisions, and still be able to make the most appropriate choice. When the soul is governed by reason, it ensures that our impulses of anger and our appetites remain in check and are directed towards constructive goals. It is therefore prudence that is at the center of justice, giving clarity for balanced judgment and ethical behavior. Anger, as aligned with fortitude, contributes to the virtue of justice by giving the strength to face challenges head-on while maintaining moral principles. The virtue of fortitude gives us the ability to resist temptations, suffer through hardships, and confront injustices when they arise. When our anger is properly guided by reason, it transforms into a force for good, giving the courage to fight for what is right and defend ourselves and others from harm. This spirited part of our soul, when it is tempered by fortitude, ensures that justice is not passive but an active pursuit of integrity. Desire, as governed by temperance, also plays a very crucial role in the rise of justice. Temperance involves the moderation and control of our appetites and our passions. This ensures that our desires do not lead to excess, which can be our moral compromise. When we regulate our desire with temperance, it contributes to a balanced and harmonious soul, allowing us to enjoy physical pleasures within reasonable bounds, preventing them from dominating one's actions in life. This self-control is crucial in order for justice to emerge, as it prevents the pursuit of selfish goals at the expense of one's ethical and moral self. Justice, therefore, arises from the proper alignment and harmonious functioning of reason, anger, and desire, with each operating under the guidance of its respective virtue. Justice encompasses the entire soul, ensuring that all parts work together in a well-balanced manner. This unity within one's soul leads to a just life where our actions are not driven by irrational impulses or uncontrolled desires. Rather, they are informed by wisdom, courage, and self-discipline. To summarize this, justice is the virtue that encompasses and brings together all aspects of the soul. It extends past the realm of material possessions to our overall conduct and behavior. It can only be achieved when our reason, anger, and desire are properly aligned and governed over by prudence, fortitude, and temperance. This proper alignment ensures that each part of the soul contributes to a balanced, ethical, and harmonious life. It is important to know that virtues are not some innate quality that is present at birth. They are rather cultivated through proper education and upbringing. This cultivation process is a deliberate and sustained effort to develop one's moral and intellectual faculties, enabling individuals to discern right from wrong and to act accordingly in life. One's education is an important role in this development as it provides knowledge and foundations necessary for understanding these ethical principles and the importance of virtues in personal and societal contexts. When one is raised with the emphasis on the value of these principles and encouragement to practice virtuous behavior, it creates a foundation upon which true virtue can be built. In this way, a well-educated individual is more likely to achieve harmony among the virtues. One, through exposure to philosophical teachings, moral reasoning, and practical examples of virtuous conduct, can learn to integrate reason, anger, and desire effectively and properly into themselves. Such an individual will come to understand the importance of the virtues prudence, fortitude, and temperance while striving to embody these virtues within their own daily lives. Education is a manner in which we can recognize how these qualities are connected on the internal level and how a balanced integration can lead to a just and fulfilling life. Just the same, the well-educated individual is better prepared to align their own actions with reason and maintain their moral integrity. An opinion of mine is that well-educated does not necessarily mean college educated. I have met many people within my lifetime who hold college degrees, however they lack intelligence. The school systems today place an emphasis on memorization of facts rather than how to implement this knowledge into one's own life. On the other side of this, I have met people who have never attended a college and are highly intelligent. Then, of course, there are individuals like this on both sides. I'm simply saying that just because someone holds a college degree does not mean they are intelligent. Moving on. For those who lack a proper education or cultivation, they will often exhibit imbalances and imperfect manifestation of these qualities, if any at all. Lacking the guidance of reason, one's actions are most likely to be driven by their raw emotions and unchecked desires. This leads to behaviors that are impulsive, irrational, and can be potentially harmful. An individual such as this may present tendencies that mimic virtues, but without the grounding of rational thought and ethical understanding, these tendencies should not be considered true virtues. These individuals may act courageously due to reckless anger or show temperance when confronted with external constraints, rather than an internal discipline. The lack of reason within these individuals align their actions and behaviors more to that of an irrational animal, as they act on instinct rather than rational discourse. Some animals may exhibit behaviors that seem virtuous in specific circumstances. These actions are not under the guidance of conscious understanding or moral principles. The same as uneducated or uncultivated individuals may act in a manner that resemble virtue, but without the underlying rational foundation, their actions lack the necessary requirements and consistency that define true virtue. In summary, virtues are cultivated qualities that emerge through proper education and upbringing. This provides the necessary knowledge and foundation for ethical living. An individual who is well educated can harmonize the virtues of prudence, fortitude, and temperance, giving way to a balanced and just life. Contrast to this, those individuals who lack the cultivation are capable of showing an imbalanced and imperfect quality that may mimic virtue. However, as these actions are not guided by reason, this is not true virtue. For this reason, the development of virtue is tied to the process of education and the intentional nurturing of moral and intellectual capacities. Now, vices are the opposite and contrary to virtues. They represent the detrimental qualities that arise within one's soul when the soul is misaligned or not cultivated. Just as virtues are attributed to a specific part of the soul, vices are attributed to the failure of specific virtues. This undermines the balance that is necessary for a just and harmonious life. Folly is the vice that alters and distorts reason. Fear corrupts anger, and intemperance poisons desire, giving way for injustice to pervade the entire soul. The same as virtue is not inherent in us. Vice is developed through a lack of proper education, chaotic upbringing, or misguided social environments. These all contribute to the improper development of an individual's moral and intellectual faculties. Folly, being contrary to and the vice of reason, emerges when one's ability for prudence is compromised. In the place of making wise and thoughtful decisions, this individual engages thoughtlessly and exhibits irrational behavior. This vice can present itself as poor judgment, inability for foresight, and lack of concern for appropriate actions. Folly rises from the lack of intellectual and moral education, allowing individuals to fail at developing critical thinking skills and an understanding of ethical behavior and principles. Lacking the guide of reason, their actions are erratic and can often be detrimental to their well-being as well as others. Fear is contrary in the vice to anger and shows a corruption of fortitude. When anger is properly directed, it can give rise to courage, while fear paralyzes individuals and prevents them from acting with bravery. This vice strips away the ability to confront difficulties and stand against injustice. This leads to a life of cowardice. An upbringing in disorder or a toxic environment that places an emphasis on punishment can instill a deep-seated fear, crippling them in their capacity for courageous actions. Intemperance is contrary in the vice to desire and occurs when the virtue of temperance is lacking. If left unchecked, it will lead to overindulgence of one's appetites, passions, and desires. This leads to addiction and one's own moral decay. Intemperance disrupts the balance which is necessary for a harmonious life due to one's desire taking the precedence of their actions. This vice grows from a lack of self-discipline and guidance during their upbringing. Societal influences that glorify that instant gratification exasperate this vice further. Injustice, which is contrary to the entire soul, gives rise when reason, anger, and desire are all left out of proper alignment. It is the culmination of folly, fear, and intemperance as they manifest due to lack of moral integrity and ethical behavior. Injustice is not only detrimental to one's actions, but their relationships and interactions with others as well. This leads to a life riddled with unfairness, dishonesty, and pain. This vice thrives when one neglects their education and in a society that promotes corruption. To summarize this, vices are the destructive counterparts of virtue, which comes to be from an inadequate education, disordered and chaotic upbringing, and adverse societal influences. Folly, fear, intemperance, and injustice each represent an aspect of the soul when the soul is not properly aligned and gives way to an imbalanced life. So what do you think of what Celestius is telling us here? Do you agree or do you disagree? Let me know in the comments. I know that I've been talking for a while about an interview with Monty Plaisance on his upcoming re-release of his book Scrolls of Manetho, which that interview will be taking place this weekend, so be looking for that next week. Remember that you can check out more of my work at echoesfromthetemple.com, as well as find all of my social media links in the link tree in the description. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification to know when new videos are released. And if you really want to help this channel grow, share this video. Until next time, Salam.